Hi, it's Amanda from the Eeny, Meeny, Miney Foundation. I thought I'd do a quick video. There's a lot going on in this space. There are groups of women who have been spreading misinformation and disinformation on parental alienation for some time now. They say it's junk science or pseudoscience, and they claim that it's a legal tactic, saying that parental alienation is what abusive fathers claim to take children away from protective mothers. If this was the case, that would be a false claim of parental alienation, and they ignore that there are valid claims of this form of abuse, and abusers will often accuse their victim of things they're actually doing. So alienation can be one of those things. I went through that myself. I was accused of alienating, but I was the one that became alienated, and yet I wasn't alienating. So it does happen. These groups of women actually victim blame the alienated parent for the child's rejection. So that includes mums and dads in these situations. They're ignoring a huge body of research and focus on one article that was written by a professor of law overseas, which has actually been proven fraudulent. To think that children can't be manipulated into hating or fearing, then rejecting a parent. Let's talk about manipulation. I mean, we've got children are led to believe about Santa Claus. He climbs, this big fat guy with a red suit and a big beard climbs down the chimney and, delivers presents and goes off on the reindeer. We've got the Easter Bunny. We've got the Tooth Fairy. If we think about it on the negative side, we've got the boogeyman. I mean, he hides under the bed, he's in the closet, all sorts of things the boogeyman might get you. Or if you poke your tongue out at someone or pull a mean face at them and the wind changes, your face will stay that way. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was told that as a child. I wouldn't dare poke my tongue out at anybody because I was worried that my face would get stuck like that with my tongue hanging out. There's other things going on. In Australia, we have a woman who held a high position within our family court who has published misinformation with the support of a professor in justice studies who was actually a guest writer for a law journal in 2001. The judges have been making judgments based on this misinformation. Or is it disinformation? You be the judge. More on this later. Then we have Dr. Julie, the false witness, in the recent ABC articles. She's also citing this professor of justice studies in her work, in her presentations, in her program that she's been highly promoted within the family courts. You just got to follow the footprints, and there are many. We also have a professor in law in Australia who has done presentations and articles on parental alienation, never citing any of the latest research in clinical practice, family law, or science. You would think these people are practicing out of their area of expertise from law and justice studies into psychology, which is science. When you create lies, which causes confusion and anger, and in these cases helplessness, it causes great division amongst groups of people and causes absolute chaos when it comes to families in crisis and in need of help. Some don't care how profit is achieved. It's unconscionable conduct. Why am I talking about this? The organisation I founded is the Eeny, Meeny, Miney Foundation, EMMM. EMMM specialises in child coercive control and alienating behaviours. I have generational lived experience in this, in parental alienation and parental child abduction. I lost my mum to suicide. I was a parent as well of alienation. My children lost me for half their childhood. Luckily for me, I am now reunified, unlike many in these tragic situations. I thought I'd do a quick parental alienation 101. So parental alienation is the outcome of an adult using coercive control and alienating behaviours to damage the relationship between a child and the child's other parent or even other family members. Individuals who use these behaviours include mothers, fathers, step-parents, grandparents, other family members, and even non-family members. So that can include practitioners who are working with families in these situations. It could even include people at school who are involved in these dynamics. The adult, the alienating parent or person, pressures the child to feel an allegiance with them. It is all about sides. The child is forced to choose one. They pressure or emotionally reward the child to reject the other parent or family member. They can make the child feel afraid of the other parent or person in the absence of real threat. They coerce and encourage the child to be defiant or even bully the other parent or family member. There are many coercive controlling behaviours, such as non-verbal cues, negative facial expressions, body language, and even tone of voice that all contribute to alienation when used in conjunction with other manipulative behaviours and tactics. A parent may use disapproving or negative body language and facial expressions such as frowning, eye rolling, head shaking, and sighing, which can send a message to the child and influence the child's perception of the other parent. A parent's tone of voice in a condescending tone when discussing the other parent can also influence the child's view of them. Suggestive questioning can lead to the corruption of memory and the child's perception. Got to think about that for a bit. Interrogation can also lead to the child reporting back falsehoods and half-truths. So you can imagine if a child is reporting back bad parenting or abuse that didn't actually happen, what the alienating parent can do with that information. Alienation processes, there's quite a few behind it. We've got various. There's adultification, parentification, infantilization, and learned helplessness. Then there is programming and brainwashing, and learning, such as classical and operant conditioning, and observational learning. Think monkey see, monkey do. Some of the tactics used by alienating parents, but not limited to, are denigration and vilification of the other parent or person, interfering with time spent with the other parent. They can be hovering over phone calls. They could be calling the child while it's with the other parent, interfering, telling the child, when you're there, give us a call. I'm going to be really sad and lonely when you're gone. Make sure you stay in touch, things like that. There's information gatekeeping, withholding school records, medical records, when there's events coming up that the other parent might want to be involved with the child. I think I've already mentioned interrogation of the child, inappropriate disclosure about the targeted parent. So they might talk about past relationships that parent had, or things that might be of somewhat intimate between them and the other parent, all sorts of things. It's like using the child as an emotional confidant. Look up emotional incest and you will see what kind of dynamics are involved in these cases sometimes. They often utilize outside forces such as police, child protection, schools, and they even misuse restraining orders through false allegations of abuse or misrepresenting the other parent as being dangerous or someone to be fearful of. In regard to children, interviewing, questioning, and counselling techniques used with children can be very suggestive, so suggestive that they have the capacity to alter the child's recollection of events substantially, therefore compromising the reliability of the child's personal knowledge about situations and events. There's decades of research in clinical practice, law and science, which is ignored by these groups of people and as well as often practitioners in the court. Parental alienation literature has produced a scientifically trustworthy knowledge base. If your legal representative or psychologist hasn't kept up to date with the recent research on parental alienation, it's a huge red flag. Nearly 40% of the parental alienation literature has been published since 2016. So those who are obsessed with Richard Gardner and old, out-of-date, no longer relevant literature, you know, we're talking people still citing things from the 80s and the 90s, they're going to face some hard questions in court. To end this, I will say I would love you to continue supporting the Eeny, Meeny, Miney, Mo Foundation. We have our Awareness Day coming up on the 12th of October, which is for Australia and New Zealand. We'll be sharing research and facts in relation to parental alienation dynamics and child coercive control. Last but not least, please take care and never ever give up. Thank you for listening.